Hello and welcome or welcome back to the Obsidian Mirror, where we use tarot and other symbol systems as prompts for introspection, for reflection. Today I'm going to do the mirror reflection read to explore the current internal landscape and any active patterns that may be going on with us today. And yes, when I say us, I mean us, because I am the type of person who uses any excuse to figure out what's going on in my inner world. Now, this is the Wild Unknown Tarot, which I have been working with for a handful of years now. I really like the art by Kim Krans, and I also have the archetypes cards by her, technically the pocket archetypes. Now, this first card that I'm going to pull represents our current state. What could possibly be going on with us right now in our current state? The Chariot. Okay. So right away, I get a sense of momentum, of movement. Now, I'm not sure if you know this, but I have been developing this channel behind the scenes for a number of months now. And this is technically my second recording in one day. So I personally have a sense of movement about me. Now we're going to use the Shadow Seer Tarot, and the second card represents the active pattern. This is a newer deck to me, so I'm excited to get to know it better. That also means that it's a bit stiff. Let's see here. I think the video is having some... Sorry, the camera is having some trouble focusing, so maybe I should shuffle off camera. Thank you for your patience as I learn how to do the YouTube thing. And I know that I speak a little bit on the slower side, and there are many reasons for that. One being that I invite you to move slowly with me throughout this experience. Interesting. 9 of Pentacles, or the copycat, in the second position. Now I'm going to pull a shadow card. Oop. Yeah, we're just gonna go with this. So, I'm gonna get an archetype that represents the shadow. I'm doing things a little bit out of order. It might be nerves, which is okay. One of my challenges is to see perfectionism where it wants to crop up within my process and kind of dismiss it a little bit I do want to do things well, but if I make a mistake, that's okay, because I get to learn from it. So, which archetype is in the unseen or avoided position today? The animal. Oh, fascinating. Okay. So what I'm getting here in the current state, as I stated previously, is movement. Now, when I look at the card and its gorgeous artwork, I see a horse, but I also see a runway model. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but runway models often have poorly treated feet. Yet they move with such grace anyway. It's astounding to me. I'm always impressed. Now, I'm wondering if there is something in the air about movement for you. Is there a sense of being held back somewhere where you would prefer to run free? Is there some preparation that you would like to do before movement? Now, you could be feeling a sense of literal movement. Perhaps you want to move. Perhaps you want a change in career. Perhaps you want an outlet in some form or fashion of your life. Now, I'm wondering if this could represent communication for you. Perhaps there is something that has been on your mind that you're wanting to discuss. Maybe you're still finding the words, and soon you want to have that conversation. Now, one of the things that I would like to mention when it comes to movement is that there are various forms of movement. Sometimes we go slow. Sometimes we go when we don't want to. Sometimes there's an external force providing impetus for us. I'm wondering if there's some sort of push happening in your life right now. Is that push coming from within? Is that push coming from outside of you somewhere? Do you want to move slowly? Do you want to move quickly? Do you want to move from a place of instinct, much like a horse, or of a more cultivated, practiced nature, like a model? I also urge you to consider the way in which you choose to move. When I see the chariot, obviously, as I've stated before, I think about the feet. Wild horses don't have shoes. Domesticated horses do have shoes. Models often wear shoes that are too small for them or stacked very high. It takes practice to walk in high heels. So these are all thoughts that come to mind when looking at the chariot. It is not, what are the words that I'm looking for? I think it is worth mentioning presentation. So a wild horse versus a model. Is there something here about how you want your movement to be perceived? Is there a certain way that you want to be looked at? And is there something that you can do to cultivate that effect? Perhaps doing your hair differently. Perhaps practicing your walk in your own home. Perhaps wearing new shoes and seeing how they feel on you. And I also think that movement can be an internal thing. Now, if you've watched any of my videos, you'll know that I like to turn within with any interpretation and see how it might apply to our internal world. That could mean mental movement as well, or emotional movement. Take what is useful, ignore the rest. Now I would like to invite you to take a few deep breaths with me. The movement card has gotten me a little bit stimulated, I'm not gonna lie. Another deep breath. I think it is worth mentioning that when we slow down and maybe even pause to check in with ourselves and our bodies, we can notice some very interesting things. One more deep breath. For instance, my heart is racing right now. So there's some movement internally right there. Moving on. So in the position of the active pattern, we have the Nine of Pentacles in reverse, also known in this deck as the copycat. Now, the Nine of Pentacles traditionally speaks of good things, of financial stability, and even a little bit more. It's security. Now, in reverse, that might not be taken so well. But here on the Obsidian Mirror, I'm going to use it as an invitation to see what in my life or in our life, because this reading is going to reflect many things, and I am the reader, so it could apply to me. Where do I feel or perceive a sense of lack? Perhaps I have a craving for something that I haven't quite gotten yet, just a taste. Is this something that you could relate to? Perhaps your work is not as fulfilling as you want it to be, regardless of the numbers. Perhaps you feel like your work could be more you in some way. Is there something in your life that you want more of? Why? What could it possibly do for you? I also think that this could be taken literally, more food, more digits in the bank account, perhaps owning a home, or having enough to not worry about the next paycheck, perhaps having enough to know that one car repair is not going to be a major setback, and that's valid. Perhaps you have enough, and the lack is not from material. Perhaps it is part of ourselves that are seeking an avenue to express abundance in a way that helps us connect with others. This could be the desire for hosting dinner parties. This could be the desire for volunteering time in some way. This could be giving money to a cause that we believe in. Ultimately, I think that this shadow card with the title The Copycat speaks to a desire to branch out of the conventional way of thinking in some way. Perhaps you have it all. Perhaps you have a well-paying job and you've been there for a while. Perhaps you have a stable family or home life. And there's something that still doesn't feel quite right. Now, I'm not saying that keeping up with the Joneses is how you feel or what you're trying to do, or that it's wrong in any way. What I am asking is, do you feel an urge to branch out on your own in some way? To do something that is highly individual to you? Do you want to... I could come up with a million different things, but it's highly individual to you. Do you want to learn a new language just for the sake of learning a language and not because of the region you're in? Do you want to take up a new hobby, even if it is unpopular with your friends or family, just for you? Is there an adventure that you want to go on? And that could be literal. You could want to travel, I don't know. These are the questions that we ask here. And so, in the active pattern position, what I am wondering is if there is a small step forward that you can take to fulfill this individual desire that you have. It may not be popular among your friends, family, or culture at large, and that's okay. But if you feel a sense of movement towards an individual action, consider it. Maybe it does not need to be perfect. Maybe it does not need to come to completion. Perhaps there is a small way in which you can experiment with any possible desire that you have. Now, we're going to move on to the third card, which is the unseen or avoided aspect of this reading. And we have the animal here. I would like to note that there are 2 animals on the board. Now, this speaks to, in my mind, instinct, whether that be a primal instinct or something that is more cultivated. Perhaps there is something that you have been wanting to do for a long time. Perhaps you have words for it, maybe not. But I'm getting the idea that there is an urge here. An urge to do something for you regardless of how it is perceived. And you may understand the consequences, or you may not fully understand the consequences. I'm wondering if it is worth an experiment. It can be a very, very small experiment. If you want to learn how to cook, maybe start with a grilled cheese, and you could do, just for example, a classic grilled cheese with some bread you like and some cheddar. Have it with some soup. Create a meal for yourself, and you don't have to tell anyone that you're experimenting with cooking or that you enjoyed your food. This is for you. Now, continuing with this example, perhaps you make another grilled cheese with some brie and some sliced apples. You can really get into it. Grilled cheese is fortunately a great way to experiment with flavors, and it's simple. You can do it the same technique every time. Different ingredients, slight variations. You can have it with different soups or no soups. Now, I'm speaking in an example, but I think you get my meaning. I trust that you get my meaning. I think that this reading is an invitation to think about an urge or a desire that you may have been carrying, and taking a small step towards exploring that, whatever it is for you and whatever it could mean. It does not need to be fully thought out, as the animal cards are signifying that maybe this is more of an intuitive exploration. It does not need to be long-lasting. You do not need to build an empire on grilled cheese, or you could if you want to. You could keep this entirely to yourself, or you could reach out to any friends or family you think might be interested in your process. You could reach out to like-minded individuals on the internet and ask about their process. It's up to you. But I think that movement in regards to an urge you've had and maybe told people or maybe not told people deserves a bit of intuitive action. Now, that is how I see the cards. Feel free to do your own research. Feel free to experiment a little bit or not, as you feel called to do. Now, I invite you to, if you can, scan your body. and see if you have any areas that are tense, perhaps rigid, perhaps loose, more relaxed than other areas. I invite you to note these reactions because the body is a very good partner when it comes to learning about ourselves. In any case, thank you for spending the time with me on the Obsidian Mirror. Use what feels applicable and ignore the rest. I'll see you again another time.